Hi everybody, welcome back to Sprocket Man Designs. As you might be able to tell, there's a big piece of something metal stuck in my vise. I may have mentioned in a previous video that we were having the kitchen upgraded. As a part of that, got a few bits of metal left over, which look like got a hole in one end, not the other end, and it's a fairly hefty piece of steel. Now, while just doodling around earlier, it occurred to me that I've also got this aluminium section. This used to be part of a French window. They took the PVC part away and I kept the aluminium for some reason. I thought it would come in useful for something, what can I tell you. Anyway, I was tinkering about, and it turns out that the internal structure of this is only a millimetre or so thicker, thinner, not thicker, this is thicker, than one of these. So what I've been doing for the last 20 minutes or so is grinding back one edge. So very slowly I've been able to sit it inside on its edge, sort of like that, although because this is lipped, it will sit more there-ish, give or take. So what I'm going to do now is measure up, cut this off to this length, and then effectively what I'm going to do is drill a 10mm bolt somewhere near the far end over there, so that I can take. This looks like what the wind spinner is mounted on. So you've got bearings in there. Nylock nut goes on the end of it to seal it all in position, and it will spin happily. So with that in position, or when I go and mug the spinner anyway, that will be the pivoting point at that end set up. So what I then have to do at this end is work out the height where the sprocket I intend to attach will be. I've still got to make a mounting plate for that, but with the aid of an unwanted kitchen instrument that I've cut the handle off, I've now got something of approximately the right diameter. So I'm going to find myself a piece of steel with that kind of size, cut it into that shape, drill out the centre so I can then mount it onto the motor. The other thing I'm going to do, and I'll use this to demonstrate, is drill out 5 holes and then use dead simple ordinary bicycle chainring bolts to lock it all together. That way the drive will end up somewhere about here. Spinner, as I say, sat on the far end. I wonder if I can just lift that up to show. No, it's not going to let me, is it? I love cameras. Anyway, no, I've messed it up royally for you now. Let me just see if I can get you back. There you go. Oh, you can almost see the end now. So just beyond where you can see my finger there, it's about another, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches, but it will be mounted down that end. What I intend to do is not actually sit the bolt in dead square to this, because with the piece of steel in place there is physically only just enough room to get the nylock nut on. So what I'm going to try and do is get the other bearing mounted in through the nylock, through the nylock nut, which will be wedged up against the piece of steel, and literally just turn it until I can't turn it anymore. Hopefully that will lock the nut against the aluminium and the whole thing will be as rigid as, in principle. part of this journey is going to involve using a big hammer and then knocking that piece of steel all the way in. But first what I've got to do is basically take a hacksaw, cut this off to the length of the support bar, which is, I believe, 500mm. I can pilot a tape measure. I'm just breaking in these fingers for another idiot. Okay, so that's actually 565mm long. Do I knock 60? No, stuff it, let's keep it as simple as possible. So yeah, it's now going to be 565mm long. Then, as I say, all I've got to do is work out exactly where I'm going and how, importantly, I'm going to mount the motor, so that will then rotate at the right height above the, also it's parallel to chainring. Further to my idea of using a rear derailleur to create a chain tensioner, I've since thought it would be a lot easier to just take the back plate, which is that bit there, off, create a pivot point somewhere along here for it to pull against, and then put in a static pin, and then I will literally just use a very simple, there it is, thought I'd lost it for a moment there, come here, just a spring to tension it, so that will pull against that, the jockey wheel will pull the arm in against the chain, and theoretically at least we'll all work out happy. See what happens when we get to that bit, we're not there yet. So for now I'm going to turn the camera off while I do a bit of cutting, and then you can see what's left when I've made a right mess with aluminium. See you in a minute. Okay, so this is our length. As you can see, it's now no longer door height, so what I'm going to try and do is very carefully just tap this piece all the way in and then make sure it's level at both ends. Right, this is a dead blow hammer. It's made by the Thor Hammer Company. Lovely, lovely tool. It's British made, which is always a nice thing to hear when you're British. That was almost too easy. Something's wrong, it's dead right down the length. That is actually terrifying. Okay, so now what I'm just going to check is that there is sufficient clearance for the nut, which of course there isn't. So how am I going to do that now I've driven that in? I'm going to need it to sit at least there. So what do I need here? Instead of guesstimating, let's use a bit of technology, or a vernier caliper if you prefer. So the outside across the flats on that, it's as close to 19mm as anybody cares about. And in here I've got 18.6. It's 0.4 of a millimetre. So the next question needs to be, do I attempt brute force and ignorance, and possibly losing my mind trying to make that work, or do I just skim it off the side of the knot? Before I do that, of course, I do need to drill the hole for it to go through. Let's get measured up for that first then, I think. Because otherwise, this is all going to get very stupid very, very quickly. That's the point, have I got a drill bit that big? Close but no cigar. I see on the horizon me bobbing out to buy a bigger drill bit. It's the same size, isn't it? Yep, they're both the same size. Curses and swear words. Oh well, we'll set fire to that bridge when I get to it. So, I think what I'll do is take a bunch of measurements now. Get the centre of that. And potentially drill it about there so there's material all around it. Part of the reason I've chosen to use this stuff, as you can see from the end of it there, it's got all this reinforcing in it, so theoretically anyway, once I've got the nut in there, it'll jam up against the sides there and there'll be virtually no flex. The main reason I put the steel in was just to add a little bit of extra support. Still haven't worked out how I'm going to make this thing stand up yet, but again, that's a problem for tomorrow. Or that hole goes all the way through in entirely the wrong place. This is the fun you have when you're using or recycling bits of metal you didn't want to throw away. Well, I enjoy it, but right, get the measurement for the centre line, find my scribe, which I've put somewhere safe again. Ah, there it is. So let's start off with it complicated for yourself again, you silly sprocket. Right, so that's central to that, and I want to put the hole, or not, sorry, that's going to go that way, isn't it? Yeah. So that's going to go there. where I'll forget to put it. I've managed to get that absolutely dead right. Who says miracles don't happen? Okay, so for my next trick, I'll pretend to know what I'm doing. Right, I'm going to do a guide hole first using my pillar drill. So that's the pilot hole drilled. Didn't quite make it through all the way on the far side. I don't think that's going to bother me too much because I am about to put a much longer drill bit in and do the same again. Let's see what the time is. 10 to 5. If you're wondering why I'm suddenly mumbling about the time, I've just had an email to say a package I've been expecting has been delivered to my place of work because I forgot that I wasn't going to be there today. So let's get this chuck opened up. Open that up. It might pay if I centre the drilling plate so the drill doesn't get distracted by it. I also need to lower it significantly. Before I even attempt to go any further with that, it looks like I need to sharpen all of my drill bits. Oh joy. Right, going to play sharpening drill bits. See you in a bit, guys.